it's Chrissy here from the Creative Eclectic. Today I am going to show you how to make a really lovely home decor piece for Halloween. So we are using the fabulous Them Bones 12 by 12 Designer Series paper. We're also using the Bag of Bones bundle, which is a photopolymer stamp set, and the Bag of Bones dies. Now these dies have got lots and lots of pieces in them. Okay. We also have some of these glow-in-the-dark bats and ghosts. Some glow-in-the-dark 6x6 paper. And some coordinating cardstock as well. So I've got some basic black, some basic grey, and I probably will also use some Orchid Oasis. Okay. Now I'll put a link in the comment section, description section of all the things that I have used on this project. You'll also need a mini die cutting machine or a large die cutting machine, and you'll need a wooden block. So this wooden block that I have used, I'm repurposing an old block that we had done for Christmas. So I've just painted it white, and then I've popped some black gesso around it. Now I'm not worried about the bottom. They're only decorating on the four sides and the top. Okay. Now you'll need some ink, and depending on how this goes, it will depend on what ink we use. So I've got some of the colours that are in the papers, but some extras as well. And again, I will pop in the comments what I actually used when we finish the project. So at the moment I've got Cajun Craze, Starry Sky, Orchid Oasis, Parakeet Party. I've also got some Parakeet Party cardstock, some pumpkin pie as well, so some really good Halloween colours. I also have on hand my Memento Tuxedo Black ink and some Versamark watermark ink, just in case I decide to do some embossing. And I've got my white embossing folder and my heat tool on hand as well. You'll need some good glue, so I've got my multi-purpose liquid glue. I've got my take my pick tool, and also my bone folder and Wink of Stella. Okay, so let's get started with the base of it. I also have on hand some sponge daubers and black dimensionals. So we've got quite a few products in this video. So we're going to start with cutting some paper. I want each side of my box to be different. If you've got a ruler on hand, this is really good. So this piece of timber, now you can get something like this from a craft store, I got these I think from Lincraft, but you might even be able to get them from the cheap shop. So we need to cut some squares of paper. They're going to be around about 3 7/8 of an inch. Let's make sure you can see that. 3 7/8 of an inch by 3 7/8. It won't go right to the very edge, right? Because we're going to distress the edges and stuff. Okay. So let's have a look at what paper I want to use. Okay. Now, this paper here you can cut with the dies. So I'm going to leave that as one that I'm going to cut with dies to decorate it. I like this side with the bones on it. And I like this one as well. So this would be great for around the outside. Like if you wanted, you could use all sides the same. And maybe that's what we should do. All right. I've also got this as well, and it's got some. So I'm thinking those three are probably going to be what I'm going to start with. I've got this piece and I'm going to use that to decorate the top as well. All right, so let's get started. Let's start with this one. Now, I'm going to cut down the middle first, just because I can then trim how much I want. So I just trim it at 6 inches. So this is a 12 by 12 paper. And then I can work out, am I going to use all of that moon? Am I not? On this one, I won't use the whole moon. I'll actually cut that and we'll cover that moon up with some other things. So let's cut this now to 3 7/8. So that's going to be a fabulous size. I'm going to cut all those to 3 7/8. I'm going to start at this end because I've got a bit of extra room there. So 3 7/8 down. Now, my blade on my trimmer needs to be changed, but that's okay, because I want it to be a distressed look. So I've got 3 sides done. So let's get the 4th side. And I think that we can use because it's going to go all the way around. You can actually change the order that they go in. So I'm going to use this one again. Actually, no, I'm going to use this one here. So I'm just going to cut a piece that's 3 7/8 off here. Now you can use these other pieces later on for another project. So put them out the way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this from the middle, not from the bottom. Okay? Because I didn't want to see the name. Okay, so we're going to grab our multi-purpose glue. Now, if you have got a silicone craft mat, that's a really useful thing to put down on your work surface at this point in time. I don't seem to have one available. So I'm just going to put a whole heap of glue. And I'm using the wide end of my glue because I don't want any lumps, okay? You don't have to take it right to the edge, but fairly close, but not right on the very edge because we don't want it oozing out. So, first up, we'll do our first square. Now we're just going to wipe it over there. Now this is where your bone folder comes in handy. Just going to use that bone folder to, and this is why you need glue also, so you can have a little bit of wriggle room. Now, it's always a good idea to have some baby wipes or something on hand to wipe off the excess glue. Now, you need to make sure that your gesso, if you don't have black gesso, just use black craft paint, like acrylic paint. Alright, so we'll turn it around. Put this one on next. You want to be very, very liberal with your glue. Like, make sure you've got plenty on there, because there's nothing worse than doing a project. Now, you could use a different product. Some people might choose to use something like Mod Podge. That would work really well too. I'm really making sure that the bottom edge is lined up. The rest of it will all come together. So I got my bone folder. We pop this. Turn it around. I'll put my silicone craft mat underneath. My next little piece. So I've only cut the sides so far. So we're going to do this. If you just wiggle it a bit, it makes sure that you've got glue right to the very edge of the paper, but not off the edge. And see, I'm not worried about the fact that it's got some distressed rough edges. Now you could, if you have heaps of time, you could sit there and distress each one of the squares before you stick them on. I don't have time for that. This is a quick project. Well, not quick, but it's not a project that's going to take you weeks to do. All right, no one's got time for that. We just want something that looks cool and that gives off a bit of a spooky feel. Now this is a project, I have got a tiered tray, which this is where this is going to sit. And yet, because the paper is quite sweet, we can use it again, like we can recover it up, and it's not all that expensive. So next year, if I want to change the look, because there's a different Halloween paper, I can do that. I just want to make sure that we've got all of the bubbles out. Now, if you've got a brayer, you could use a rubber brayer to do this step. Just want to make sure that we've got all the bubbles out and it's nice and smooth. You don't want it to bubble up and fall off. All right, so that's our sides so far. All right, I'm not worried about the bottom. You could put a piece of felt or something on the bottom if that's what you feel like doing. All right, let's have a look at the top. I'm thinking that this one might sit on the top the best because it's sort of blends in with the other colours in it. I think the orange is too bright, and we'll use that on another project. And as you're putting it together, you'll find that you'll play with the cardstock and play with the paper and find things that you like. Now this was at one point a Christmas block, and if you see here, it was an old, very old stamp set that I'd white embossed on red cardstock. Like I couldn't peel the cardstock off, it was stuck too well, so that's why that's going on the bottom. All right. So this one here is 3 7/8. And again, 3 7/8 this way. And you may find that as you're putting it together, you definitely use different things to suit your tastes, okay? Like you might have some googly eyes in your stash that you want to use, or there might be so many possibilities you can make with this. And really it's just a cheap block, 4-inch block. I think some of them come in packs of 2. I think mine came in a pack of 3. And you can do this with smaller blocks as well. I'm only using the big one because it'll fit on my tray. And see how when I made this, I put too much glue on, so it's all seeping out the edges, but that's okay. We can wipe that off. Wipe it off that way. It's still not exactly where I want it. And because we're doing it with glue, we've got a little bit of wriggle room. I wouldn't use double-sided tape because it doesn't allow you any wriggle room whatsoever. All right, so now we've done this bit here. I'm just going to let that dry for a minute, and we're going to start thinking about, wipe off any excess glue, and we'll start thinking about how we're going to decorate it. So we've got lots of little pieces here. So we know we've got to have something that sits up here over top of that 1/4 or 1/8 of a moon. All right. And you don't have to do a whole lot, right? It's a really good, easy project. Now, as I said, I've got this, I'll pop this aside for now. I've got this paper here, and these are all die cuts in our lemon bone set. So we could probably get away with not having to stamp at all if we really wanted to. Well, we have got a dog, and we've got a cat, and we've got a skeleton. We've also got moons, we've got just bones, all right? So let's see. And we've got a fence, and I know that I want the fence. There's one I cut earlier, knowing that I wanted it. Now, if you have, I've cut out some little, I've also cut out some white bones as well. So if you have some adhesive backed sheets that are suitable for die cutting, I recommend using those. I've got my fence already cut out. I've put adhesive back sheets behind it. So this means that I have to use less, and I've done it in basic grey, and the reason I've done that is because the fence is basic grey already. Okay, so I'm going to stick my fence on. I've got 2 pieces already cut. So before you start gluing and stuff, cut all your pieces and sort of lay them out, which is probably the exact opposite of what I'm doing right now. I'm putting it together knowing that I probably haven't laid it out well enough. Okay, it's sort of a bit like winging it, really. I don't want to cover up that bat, but I do want a bit more of the fence. So you can cut your fence down to whatever size that you want. And see, because it's got the adhesive backing on it when I die cut it, I don't even have to worry about glue. I just stick it to where I want. Now, he needs to have one paneling cut off. To make it go where I want it to go. Okay, so there we go. So that's that bit. Okay. Now, we're going to die cut our skeleton. I'm going to die cut one of the skeletons in the white dog skeletons, and I'm going to cut a white cat skeleton and a white skeleton. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it down this way so I can know that I'll get those little pieces. Cutting. So you just grab your paper trimmer. Now I've got a couple of Halloween projects on the go at the moment, so this is one of them. The other one is a spooky house book. So just want to make sure that I don't cut off the dog's nose. I know from my personal experience I'm not going to use those orange skeletons, so I'm quite okay with not with cutting through those. All right, so this will be too wide to put through my mini cutting machine, so I'm just going to cut around the bits that I need that I'm going to die cut out. We've got those. Grab our little mini die cutting machine. put down your base plate, your first cutting plate. I'll try and keep the same cutting plate on the top all the time. If you've got a piece of washi tape or a piece of masking tape, you can use that. I don't have that up here, so I'm just going to hope that I get it lined up and it doesn't move at all. And you gently prise that off your backing. So this project, and prepping for this project, is the first time that I've used this bundle from the mini catalogue. Okay, so you line it up, pop your plate over the top and just feed it through. So I've got one puppy. We'll pop our skeleton and cat on, and I can cut both of those at the same time. I could have cut all three of them at the same time, but I chose not to. Pop the cat on. If you are cutting at the same time, you just need to be really careful that you don't move the bits as you're cutting them. All right. Or as you're putting your plate on, because it is really easy to move them. But don't stress if you don't get it perfect, because nothing in life is perfect, and perfect is pretty boring, really. Okay. You just want to put your plate straight down on it. You don't want to wiggle it or anything, because if you wiggle the plate, the top plate, it could move your dies. That's why it's always good to use some washi tape or some. So that's a little bit out of whack, but it's going to be okay. And our cat is a little bit out too, but it'll be okay for this project. Now, I recommend for this die that you do get some magnets for it. Okay. To hold the dies in place. So you have a tendency to wiggle. So just get some dies to hold that, some magnets to hold that in place. All right. Let's see. We've got some parakeet parties that I have cut with the dies as well. Now this is going to be some sort of slimy bits, and I'm thinking, or it could be grass. I'm thinking we might use that on a different project. I've got die cut some little bones, and when I die cut the bones and the backs, so I die cut 2 lots of bones, I forgot to put the backing paper on it. I'm going to turn this round. So I know here that I want my cat to be here, and I want it to be sort of sitting on the fence. Okay, I want my projects to be really quite flat for the most part on the sides, because I need to be able to store it. And if I raise it up with dimensionals and stuff like that, it's not going to store well. Let me just put some multi-purpose glue on the back of my cat. Again, you could use the double-sided adhesive before you die cut. I think that I use the double-sided adhesive more for when I am just using intricate dies. Okay. Now I want so on the opposite side, I want my skeleton, because he's in front of the moon. You might choose to do yours differently, but this is just an idea. It gives you an idea, a starting point of how to do this. I'm being careful not to cover up my bats, because they're fabulous on the paper. And you don't need to do a whole lot for this project. Grab my bone folder, just smooth that out, make sure it's sticking everywhere. Grab my baby wipe off any excess glue. There's a bit of excess glue there. All right. Now, where am I going to put my dog? I think that he will look pretty good here. And bring him down right towards the bottom. I'm just trying to see that make sure that I am in the camera. Because I would have hated to have been filming this and being completely off camera. And you can't really see when you are. And you're not, when it's not a Facebook Live or something like that. Okay. Now, normally when I'm making something like this, I would do all of my cutting first. Right? For die cutting and all of that. I think that that dog needs a little bone or two. So I've got these tiny little bite bones that I've cut in preparation. I've also got some bats. So I want to make sure that I have 3 bats on this page, however they might look. Actually, I'm going to keep 1 bat on this page. I'll do 3 around the other side. But he needs a bone. And the different size bones. So I'm just going to grab. Again, this is where having a using adhesive backed sheets when you're die cutting saves you a lot of hassle of getting ink or glue all over your fingers, because I know that I'm going to have lots of glue sticking onto me. And we'll do a 3rd bone. I've got so much glue on my fingers I can just pick it up without even using my picky tool. Okay, just do a couple of bones there. Now, I mentioned before that I have some bats. I'm going to put another couple of bats on this one. And I've got another couple of bones, so I'll just put a another bone on here. And I actually put it on the wrong side, the glue on the wrong side, but that's okay. If you wanted to, you could layer the bones one on top of each other to give it a bit more dimension. So let's do that with this one. Got a second bone. I'm going to do maybe 3 layers of bones on top of one another just to make it stand out just a little bit. So it's a way of adding dimension without putting too much, making it stand out too much so that it gets caught when you're trying to pack it away. Okay, whoop. Stuck to my finger again. Now the one thing I don't like is when glue all gets over my fingers, but we're going with this today. And the 3 layers of bones just make it stand up a little bit taller. And the fact that they are a little bit offset gives it a little bit something more. Now, I don't like how my skeleton's head looks at the moment, so I have already die cut one of the black hat. So let's glue that on as well. And if I put it over this side, it's sort of like on a haunchy angle. It covers the top of his head where I didn't die cut it perfectly. Okay, so we've got 3 bats on that one. We've got our thing. We're going to put some bones on this one as well. We're going to put a couple more bats on here. Now I will put some glow in the dark bats, but I want it to be able to be seen whether or not I want the bats to be seen whether the lights are on or whether they're off. Okay, so you cover up the bits in the pattern where it seems to go off the page. Okay. And this one goes up here. And I've got way too much glue on that. But thank goodness for little baby wipes. Whoops! And don't wipe it off so it goes off the block. Oh, I tore that one. Luckily, I've got a backup, so make sure you have backups because it makes it a lot easier if you do. It's going to be very, very gentle when you're putting them on and wiping them, that you don't tear them. So we've got that back there. So we've got 3 on that side. So we've got 3 this side and 3 that side. So they're opposite. There's one here. And there is one more than one there. So what we're going to do with this side is we're going to put some words on that. So I've got this designer series paper here. I am going to pop the word boo on it. So I could cut it out. I'm going to actually cut that out. I'm going to use the Trick or Treat in the top of the center here. Right. Okay, so let's just move this glue and these little pieces out the way. We'll come back to decorating the sides in a second with some, we'll die cut some glow-in-the-dark paper so that you can see how that works. Now, I keep a little plastic bag for all of my extra die cuts, just so that I can keep track of them and they don't end up everywhere. All right, let's move that out of the way for a moment. I'll grab this paper and we'll just give this a bit of a cut. And I have had another thought as I've been looking at this, and I'll explain that in just a moment. I want to use the word boo. I'm going to cut it up because I'm going to almost fussy cut the word, not quite, but almost. So I'm just cutting it fairly close to the word. Okay. The other piece that I want to use, and I'll explain in a minute how I'm going to use this, is this cat. And it may cover up something else that we have, and that's quite okay. So let's start with the word boo. Actually, no, let's start with the cat. So I'm going to grab I'm just going to wipe the glue off my hands and grab my scissors and just going to fussy cut to an extent, not terribly much, around this gravestone. And what I normally do with it, I would cut it so that I can see where I'm cutting into. I just wanted to get this started. Now, fussy cutting, you need to move your paper rather than your scissors. You see I'm turning my paper so that my scissors have an easier glide. Cutting away that moon. Going up to the cat. And this is this design process is very much about playing with what looks good and what you like on your block. Okay, I'll move that piece away. I might use those little scraps for something else. I'm just going to keep using my cutting with my cat. Again, moving the paper around so that you get your cat shape. So if you were left-handed, you'd hold your scissors in the other hand and you'd probably go the other direction to what I'm going. So you could see the edge of the piece that you're cutting. Okay. All right, so we just... Now these bits here, I use my scissors and just cut into them a bit more. I don't want too much of the orange showing. I want it to, it's okay to have a little bit, but not too much, because the background might not be the right colour. Just gently. And what I want to do, and I probably should have done this before I put the bones on, is I want to have this so that it's sitting around about here. So my bones are not completely stuck down, so I can wriggle them a little bit. All right, I'll move them out the way just for now. And I want to cover up my bat. I was going to put a boo on there, but I've changed my mind. And I'm going to cut a little bit off the bottom as well. Okay. And to give it a bit more texture, I've got a little bit of my fence left from before. I'm going to put that behind my cat, just so it looks like it. So we'll cut that crossbeam off, and we just want to put it here. So line it up there. And if you had a tiny little piece, another tiny piece. So at the other end, that little piece here. So we're adding layers and dimension without actually using dimensionals or making it stick out too much. So we're just adding a little bit of interest. So this again has got the backing paper on. So we're just going to peel that backing paper off. Now, the best way to peel the backing paper off is actually to take your pick tool, not your fingernails. And it doesn't matter what take your pick attachment you use. There we go. Get it started with your take your pick tool. Oh, it's stuck to my fingers. Peel that backing off. And pop that over here as well. So I'm letting the grey existing fence shadow it a bit. I'm going to put my cat there. use my scissors to chop along the bottom. And the cat doesn't have to be standing up straight, right? Because usually in a graveyard, the gravestones aren't straight. So we're going to put plenty of glue on this, but not too close to the edges, more in this. So you might just show it to the edges and smooth it in. Okay, I'll just move that over a little bit so I can make sure we're in the camera. Okay. I want to make sure that it's not going to ooze out everywhere. But you want to make sure you've got enough glue on it as well. So you could use tweezers or something like that if you don't want glue all over your fingers. Okay. So it's sitting a bit further forward, not a lot. Now you might choose that you could layer that on some other cardstock, a different coloured cardstock, to give it a bit more dimension, and that's quite all right. You'll see that we had the words on the back of this paper was boo. So let's see, they go this way, boo. So we might put a couple of little boos up the top. Using my paper trimmer, and like I said, it will change as you build it. So this one got some little bones there. Got a couple more little bones we'll stick on this as well. Sometimes the easiest thing when you're dealing with these bones, if you haven't used those adhesive sheets, put a bit of adhesive on your silicone craft mat. Get your Take the Pick tool, like this one here. Cut the putty off a bit short. You take your pick tool. It might not work because I've got glue all over my fingers. Just take your pick tool and just dab it in, then pick it up and put it on. So here I've got another bone. So you'll see that I'm doing lots of odd numbers of embellishments too. So this just me, if you're using odd numbers, it does seem more appealing to the eye. Okay. Again, just get the edge of my bone folder, just smooth that out. Make sure that they do not come off. Okay. Got another little teeny bone here. So, and you group them together. So if you've got, oh goodness, I have to go wash my hands. If you've got 3 embellishments, put them in some sort of pattern together, like a triangle or something like that. If you've got a single embellishment, put it over to one side. Okay. So these sort of form a triangle. So those 3 form a triangle, and that one, and that one almost form a triangle as well. Okay. All right. So we're going to use our paper trimmer. I want to use the little words boo up the top. There's my cutting blade. Well, these are really, really tiny. Yeah, and they're really, really frayed because my cutting blade really needs to be changed. But it works for this project because this boo would be too big for that. But this isn't. So I want 3 boos. Again, I'll get my silicone craft mat, bring that back in. Oh, goodness. Now, when your glue dries on your silicone craft mat, you can just peel it off. So I'm just covering up that moon so they don't really know it's a moon. Okay. I just think it's a wayward cloud. Okay. And this one here, I didn't cut it quite where I wanted it, so I'm just gonna cut it a bit shorter. Again, move that to there. So it doesn't look as much like a moon now. It sort of looks like it might be the bottom of a cloud or something like that. And I'm just gonna use my pointy end to move it over a bit without tearing my base. Okay, I've got a third one. That's my third boo. And it doesn't matter if they're upside down too. It really doesn't matter. So I'll grab this, dip it in my glue. I pop it up here. Now I've got another little bat, another little black bat that I'm going to pop on here too. Again, need a little bit more glue on my silicone craft mat. Let me just pop this on. Let's pop it on here so that just covers, so that sort of now looks a bit like a cloud. Can't really see it was a moon. I know it was a moon and you know it was a moon, but anyone else looking at it won't know. Okay, so we're starting to bring it together. That side's quite okay. Might need a few more bones. Let's cut some glow-in-the-dark bones for that one. This one looks pretty cool. We do need some sentiments on this. I do think we need sentiments. I want to do the top first. And I'm just going to use this Trick or Treat on the top. And I'm going to have it so that our skeleton is at the front. And I'm going to layer it on some laces, I think. And we're going to cut it down and make it square. I think that's what we'll layer it on. Actually, let's layer it on a piece of this paper here. So this here is, let me see how wide it is. It's about 3 inches wide. I'll just trim that bit underneath a little bit more. Just about 3 inches wide. trim that bottom bit off. Turn it around this way and make this one 3 inches as well. Okay, I want this edge to look really, really distressed, so I'm just going to grab the edge of my scissors and just wrap it up. Now you could use a distressing tool or something like that. And it doesn't matter if it tears like that. We want it to look creepy and spooky, and if it's got one tear, let's put another one in it. Okay. All right. Got 2, I want 3 tears in it. They don't have to be big tears, but I do want 3 in sort of like a triangle. So you've got a tear over here, a tear there, and a tear there, which forms a triangle. Okay. All right. So now we're going to cut a piece of this. We don't want it to be very big. We just, I would say, around 3 and 3 3/4, 3 1/2. I think that's probably about right. Yeah, we just don't want anything too big. Just turn it over. So 3 1/4 maybe. It's about square. Not quite. I must have done it a little bit too wide. So 3 1/8. Let's just make it that. That would probably be right. Yeah, that's better. 3 1/8. Me again leaving my tool out the way. Now, when you've finished your project, you can choose to varnish it or spray it with some sealants to make it last longer. Okay. I'm loving these colours. They're so vibrant, and even though it's a Halloween project, it still looks quite vibrant. Okay. And I'm going to put that aside. I've decided to use that somewhere else. So I'm very much a go with the flow crafter. So that might make it a bit difficult for you as you're watching this. But just know that the creative process is something that evolves. So if you don't like something that I've done, or you've changed your mind, that's quite okay. This project is really about showing you what you can do with this paper that isn't a card. It's something fun. I'm going to have this in my entryway, and I'm not even going to put that on straight. I'm going to put it on a bit of an angle because it doesn't need to be straight. Now, and putting things on an angle actually really messes with my head, but that's okay. And what we should have done with this one, which I'm going to do now, I'm going to put my I made a mistake. I should have sponged that first. So I'm going to grab a sponge dauber in pumpkin pie. I do have a pumpkin pie one somewhere. I've got an old one that's I'm just about to throw out. Grab my pumpkin pie ink. Use my sponge dauber and just sponge the edges. Now my sponge dauber is falling apart. Look, I've had it for so long. How about we get one that's not falling apart? There's another one. Let's see if this one's a bit better. This one's not much better. I'm just darkening up that edge. See, this one's falling apart too. So that shows how much use that they get. A lot of use. Okay, I'm going to grab my Memento black ink as well. So this one's going to go in the bin too, see, because it's falling apart so much, because it's used, I've probably had that about 15 years, I've used it so much. A bit of Memento black ink, and we're going to use that as well around the edge to give it a bit of an aged look. And what I will do is I'll bring our blocks back in and we'll start doing some inking of all the edges. Now, I prefer using my black Memento ink to do this, but you could use basic grey. You could decide you wanted to do it in a you could also decide you wanted to use your, what do you call those things, your stamping blending brushes. And I just want this to be very, very spooky looking. And I'm not worried about blending it too much. I want it to be spooky. All right, so I've got this one here. Pop this on here like that. I want it to look, so the Memento ink helps it look to be very aged. And see, I've torn that corner off. That's quite okay. Let's just stick it back on. And it's okay that it's torn off. It sort of adds to it, I think. Okay, you do have to be a little bit careful because it does tear. All right, so let's do a bit more sponging on the edges. Now I have a sponge dauber for every colour, but if you don't, just get a 5-pack of sponge daubers and just, well, I actually put them, when I've done them in particular colours, I put them in a lingerie bag, and I pop them in with my my towels or my sheets in the lingerie bag. because they're going to have washing powder in them, and so it doesn't really matter, and just sponge around your little cat and your die cuts so that they look a bit more aged. Now, you might not like this project, Halloween might not be your thing, and you probably wouldn't be watching this if Halloween's not your thing. But it is simple. It does take a little bit of time, but it's really worth the effort to, especially the sponging part, because it does make it look more creepy. I'm going to do a bit more there. And it doesn't matter, like on my bone there, it's a bit, it got covered with ink. I'm not worried about it because the bones look dirty. Or so I've been told. When they come out of the ground, they look dirty. So, missing a bone here. Let's pop this one over here instead. Pop it back here. A bit more glue on it. So he must have come off here. Remember putting him on before. And if it's not sticking, just add a bit more glue. All right. I think I've got all the edges now. Okay, and around the top, we'll just go around the top one more time because that's a bit people will see. All right, so it's starting to look really good. Just a couple of little finishing touches to it. Move those out the way. So let's grab our first of all we'll grab our little glow in the dark ghosts and bats. Now I'm not putting these embellishments on the top, I just want to put them on the sides. So take my picture. I'm going to have 3 bats on this one. And they will glow in the dark. And they're pretty cool, like when they glow in the dark. And I'll pop that one over there. So then we'll, this one here, this one over here. Oh. Now that little bone came off. I was trying to be smart and I want to put a little ghost over here. Just a little ghost. And another bat. I can put this bat over here. And let's get my last little batch and pop it here. I do think we need some more ghosts on this. I have a little ghost appearing up through the tombstones on this one. Actually, no. On this one. A little ghost coming up from the ground. He doesn't have a lot of embellishments on him. So, well, this side doesn't have a lot of embellishments on it. So let's do a couple of ghosts on this. 3 ghosts. So, and I'm thinking this bat, we might put a glow-in-the-dark bat in front of it, over top of it, or leading up to it. I'll just have a look. Let's see how that looks. So it's sort of got a shadow of a big bat. Okay. Now this one we haven't put any glow-in-the-dark bits on. But I do think he needs at least one. Let's put, actually, let's put a glow-in-the-dark ghost on his hat. Right. And I think that the last thing I want to do is add a couple more bones, but I want them to be glow-in-the-dark bones. Okay, and they will be done with they will be die cut. Move that to one side for now. This is one of those projects that it keeps on, you could add as much as you like and it keeps on growing and giving, and let me see where I put those die cuts are here. I've got our little bones. Now, if you wanted to, you could put some glow-in-the-dark grass or slime or something on it. But I think that we'll be right with just, actually we will do a teeny bit of glow-in-the-dark slime on that one. Now, I don't have my adhesive back sheets up here. So I don't know why that one just won't stay. I'm just going to put that little bone on here for now. So these sheets are obviously too wide to put through your mini machine. You just cut off a piece as wide as you need. Okay. It feels sort of, I haven't opened this before, but it does feel really textured. So that's quite cute. Mini die cutting machine. I'm going to trim this down. Other way. Trim this down just the width of your die. About that width. So it's probably around about 1.5 inches, a little less. Pop the bits you're not using back in their bag. Just want a little bit of glow in the dark grass feel like I'm in a bit of a mess here. Right, got my base. Platform number 2. A bit of the grass. And my little die. And let's try to pop this through the machine. Nice and quick. So what I like about this die is you could use it for slime or you could use it for grass. So if you had a window that had glow-in-the-dark slime coming out of the window, that would be pretty cool. All right, let's just take this die off. That only cuts an edge. It doesn't cut a cut it off completely. And then your little things. We'll just take our pick tool to pop them out. And they're sort of a greeny colour, but that's a bit spooky in itself, really. All right, look at my dreadful gluey fingers. Oh. Go. So we're going to grab our scissors and just cut this to the length that we want it. Just going to chop it off here. And chop it off here. Just going to pop a bit of that down the bottom. Bit of glue on it. I've got 2 take my pick tools going here at the moment, so let's turn it over. Work out how much I want, because I'm going to use the whole piece of, I'm not going to waste it. Put a bit of greens, grass, slimy grass there. Okay. And I think that the other piece we might just also pop around the other side. I don't know about that. No, we might waste it. Let's pop it over this side here. Now, if it's not cut exactly right, just use the scissors to carry the curve of the die around so it looks a bit more normal. Okay, we'll pop this down here. So there's not a lot of die cutting in this. There's some, but not too much. Now, let's get this one that keeps popping off. Let's, instead of having that layered one there, we'll just pop this one here. And we might do a couple more on that. Let's have about 5 bones. Oh. Only problem with these little bones is they like to hide. So, take that off. You want to make sure when you're putting them on that you are you do have the glow in the dark side facing up. Now, not the white side. I'm gonna pop that one over the top of that one. Just see how that fits there. Yeah, that'll sit better. So we've got our 5 little things here. I've got a little spare little white bone. I might pop that on this side just to keep some consistency. It's sticking to my finger. Gonna pop that one there. Cover that edge. Okay. Now I want to put a couple of little bones on the top, just because, for a bit of fun, and because the pattern has got bones on it. Now, a tiny bit more glue. Not doing too many bones, just a couple. This one's going to go over here, like it's holding that paper down. This one here, it's going to go up the top. Like it's holding that bit down. This little one here. It's going to be holding this bit down, so you can see how I have used the pattern of the paper to work out where I'm going to place those bones. Let's see if we have any left. I think I've used them all. There we go. So, in hindsight, I think this one here we can probably lift off without tearing it, and we're going to pop it over here. So again, it looks like it is holding the paper down. So this is my little Halloween project. I haven't done any stamping on it yet, and you know what? I don't think it needs stamping. I think it is really quite cute the way that it is. So that's the sides of it. You got the top, trick or treat. If you wanted to add a wink of Stella, you could. I don't think it needs it. I think that it's a pretty cute project. Thank you very much for watching. As I said, I will put all the pieces that we used in the comments, and links to where you can buy the materials. And I hope you had a really great day and enjoy making this project as much as I do. Bye for now.